there, and welcome to episode 2 of Cricut Artfully Sent with Justine the Twilight Stamper. Today we're going to be creating a really cute card. Alright, to start off by making this card, we're going to click on Insert Images. I'm using Cricut Design Space. This is for Explore users. And I'm going to go down to my image sets. You have to be logged in order to see this. I'm going to type in Artfully Sent because that's the cartridge we're going to be using today. And I'm going to have to do a little bit of scrolling because here we have down to the pink cards, you could say. And I'm going to click on this arrow card. And I'm going to make sure that the green check mark is there, and I'm going to hit Insert Images. I also wanted a speech bubble. You can go just simply into My Images and type in speech bubble, and there should be one available for you even if you're not a subscriber or something, because usually it's a pretty standard shape in most cartridges. So find one that you like. I'm going to pick this one here. It's from the Close to My Heart Artiste. And I do have this Cricut Design Space file available to you. You just have to click on it's in the description under my blog, and you can download it from there. I always bring it to the top and drag it to about 8 1/4 inches across. And I'm going to bring this speech bubble so that it's about 2 inches or so. The next thing I'm going to do is hit Edit and mirror it, so because my little dog is going to go in the corner, and the speech bubble I wanted to go, that little thing at the bottom, I wanted it to be in the other direction. So that mirror image does that for me. I'm going to click on Layers, and I'm going to highlight both of these. In a Mac, it's Command, and you can click on both of them, and I'm guessing in Windows it's Control. And I'm going to hit the Weld button. And by hitting the Weld button, it's going to create this card into one, you could say. And then you have this to cut out, and it'll cut out all as one. All you're going to do next is click Go. It's going to load it up so you can put it wherever you want on your mat. It does take a couple of seconds here to load, as you can see. It has gotten a lot faster than in the past. And then you're just going to click the Go button when that's all said and done, which is right in the bottom corner. And then it's going to be all over your machine, all up to your machine. Okay, so I cut that out in Kraft Cardstock, as you can see. I'm going to use this West Highland White Terrier stamp set from JessicaLynnOriginal.com. She has a lot of the AKC dog brands available on her website, so go and take a look if your dog is there, because they make really cool gifts for the dog lovers, and there's lots of different breeds on there, and more are coming all the time. In December, the Pit Bull stamp is coming out, and she has some really clever sayings to go along with that, because it is a controversial dog breed. So anyway, I'm going to be using this bottom stamp set here because it kind of looks like it's supposed to be in the corner, and I think it's going to look really adorable on this card. Okay, and as you can see here, I'm going to show you a dog tag that I kind of created with it. It is really one of those stamps that belongs in the corner of a card or on a tag or whatever. I'm just going to peel that off my stamp set here, and I'm going to eventually cover the background and add a little bit more interest instead of just adding only the dog, but we'll create it together. As most of you know, I don't actually create things in advance, so this is kind of my creative process. I peeled off the sentiment there that says home is where the dog is, I believe. And I inked that up with black ink, and it's MEMENTO ink, and I really like the vibrant look of it on the Kraft Cardstock. I think it looks really sharp. So I'm going to put that on my stamp press and position it over the speech bubble, and then push down and apply even pressure. And then it comes out really perfectly. So this kind of has to be that speech bubble. You have to make it as big as your sentiment is going to be. I'm going to set that off to the side. I'm going to grab a scrap piece of white paper, and I am going to stamp this dog stamp on there, and we're going to color it and cut it out. So again, I'm inking it up in MEMENTO ink, so I'm going to be using some Copic markers, and the MEMENTO ink is a Copic friendly ink, and it won't bleed when you color over it and saturate it. Okay, so again, I'm just going to position that in a place where I can cut it out and not waste a lot of cardstock. I like to use all my scraps wisely. I'm going to stamp down, apply even pressure, and you're going to see just how detailed and awesome this stamp looks when it's stamped. It really is fantastic. And she hand draws all her stamps, which is just amazing. So here I'm going to color all the stamp for you, and I'm going to put it in fast mode and explain what I'm doing as I do it. Alright, so I'm going to take the R20 marker and I'm going to color his little ears. And then I'm going to take the N0 marker and just go along with the little shadowed areas. So below his ears, along the side of his face, under his neck, anywhere there would be a natural shadow on the dog. And then I'm going to go in my N2 and put a very, very thin line over those, and then just go back in with the N0 and blend them. I didn't really put a lot because this is a white Terrier dog, but they do have natural shadows on them, and they obviously are not all this white all over. So I'm just going to cut this out now, and you don't have to worry about being too detailed. I'm using close to my heart micro tip scissors. They're my favorite to cut out detailed images because they get into those little areas that I really like, that I find difficult. So it didn't take too long to do that. And I just stuck him in the corner there, and make sure that enough adhesive is on there. I did overlap him with the corner sort of the card, and I put some glue down over, like sort of in a half rectangle, and then a little bit on those arrows where there is enough space allowed. You want to make sure that you're using maybe a glue stick or something for this. Liquid glue, you have to be really careful not to put too much, or it'll end up sticking to your paper underneath, and you don't want that. So I just positioned him, as I said, in the corner with his little ear overlapping the sentiment, which I think looks really adorable. I really like the way that this is turning out so far. So I'm just pushing him down and applying some pressure so that he'll stick nicely and he'll stay put in place. And now we're going to start by adding the background. And again, I don't do my cards in advance, so we're just going to play around here and see what we like. So I grabbed a whole bunch of pattern papers that I thought would look nice behind this card, and I'm just going to play around a little bit and see what I like, as I just said. I'm using this piece from Stampin' Up, and I really like the way that that contrasts with the craft background, but I think it does need a little color. So let's see what this yellow looks like. Not too much of a fan, but I think this green here really has a nice contrast with that brown paper and the Kraft cardstock. And if we cut it into lines, it wouldn't be a lot of work, I don't think, to do this. So I'm going to use that, I think. And what you could do is actually leave a couple arrows out in the end, and that would look just as great, and it would add a little bit of Kraft cardstock from the inside of the card, which would look really neat as well. So I really like the contrast, as I said. So I'm going to cut out some strips and see how I like it as a whole. So I put every second strip in the green just to kind of test it and see how I like it. I did realize it does need to be a slightly smaller than 3/4 of an inch wide, and then we're going to have to figure out the shape of the card. And we do want to put those green ones on first and then put that whole piece of cardstock, because if not, it's going to show on the inside of the card and not look very nice. So I'm just going to add some glue all along these little areas and put some on the speech bubble. Any area where you have a lot of solid cardstock, you want to take advantage of that with the glue so that you get as much coverage as possible. You can put a little bit on those arrows as well, but as I said, not too much or it's going to end up leaking through. So the strips I made, again, just slightly smaller than 3/4 of an inch to put on there, and then I kind of just trim them to be a little bit smaller than the actual length of the card, and I put them down. You might want to make them a little bit smaller so when you add your full piece of patterned cardstock on, that it covers those strips completely and looks really nice and finished on the inside of the card. That's my tip for the next time if I were to do this card again, but I ended up just cutting it off and it was fine in the end anyway. Next I'm going to put this pattern piece. I just have to cut it to the right size so that it's not showing through, and you can see that top strip just needs to be cut off there and that middle one, and then it'll look really professional on the inside as well. Then you want to just take that and score it and make your card. If you had this scoring tool in your Explorer, it would have done that for you. So this is the end of the video, and I hope you enjoyed this really adorable card featuring the JessicaLynnOriginal.com stamp set, and I hope you enjoyed episode 2 of Artfully Sent on the ideas what you can use with your cartridge. I'll have another Artfully Sent video in the next couple of weeks, and I look forward to creating that with you. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great weekend. Be sure to thumbs up and subscribe. Thanks a lot.